Time for closing remarks, and I apologize if we deviated a bit from the order, but I do have in my notes that Mr. Hess would go first on closing remarks. Is that what you all had? Okay, I don't want to be unfair to anybody, so Mr. Hess, you have 2 minutes.
Oh, well, thank you all for coming and pushing past whatever it is you had to push past in order to be here tonight, to see your choices for governor. I think it's important that you get to see all of them, and I'm disturbed somewhat that one of the contestants is not present, and I hope that was by his choice, because if it wasn't, I think any candidate of any character would refuse to participate in a limited or exclusionary debate. We've got to know who everybody is in front of the public at all times so that Arizona can make the best decision.
Hear, hear.
And I think it's important that we register our complaint to anybody who wants to hold a forum and not invite all the candidates. We don't want to go to yours. And I think all the characters here would say the same thing. I hope they would say the same thing, right? Anybody against that? Getting all the candidates out here? But I'll wrap up very quickly because you know who I am. I'm a libertarian all the way through. You can find out about us at hessforgovernor.com on our website. But in this particular instance, I will say, et tú, mi amigos, libertad de igualdad y oportunidad para ti y tu familia, yo permito. Muchas gracias.
Ms. Jones.
Yeah, thanks. Thanks again for being here. I am Christine Jones. I'm a Republican candidate for governor, but I wasn't always a candidate for governor. Not too long ago, I was just a regular, ordinary, average citizen sitting in seats like you, listening to other people run for office. And having now traveled all over the state, more than 30,000 miles, visited all 15 counties, I've confirmed what I kind of suspected all along, and that is that as a person who had the great opportunity to help grow a company from just a few dozen employees to about 4,000, we have to have leadership in this state that brings professional, results-proven leadership to economic development in this state. And as a person who, like most people in Arizona, came from very humble beginnings and parlayed an excellent public school education into a lifetime of success to become a CPA and to become a lawyer and to achieve success in this great state, I understand the need for every child in Arizona to have an excellent education, not just because they're lucky to live in a neighborhood that has a good school. And as a person who's now spent an immense amount of time at the border trying to peel back the sensationalism and peel back the rhetoric and peel back all of the nonsense that we hear on the news to figure out what exactly is going on with immigration, I understand that we got to get our border secure. Not to shut down the border, because it's very important that we acknowledge that we don't hate Mexico. We don't even hate Mexicans. We have a bit of a love affair with the place. They're our single largest trading partner. It's why my first international trip will be to Mexico City to talk to the government of Mexico to say, let's repair this relationship. And importantly, I now know and have met and become quite familiar with the gentleman on the stage with me, all of whom are either in office or have been in office. We have a vacuum of leadership, and it needs to be filled by a fearless, determined, proven leader. It's why I'm running for governor. I'm Christine Jones. I would love your support. I hope you vote for me. But even as you sit here, I hope you vote. Thanks for being here.
Mr. Riggs.
Well, thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Thanks to our sponsors and our hosts and our moderators. Really appreciate this opportunity. Seems like in these forums, we barely skim the surface. So if you have questions, or better yet, advice for me, would you please go to my website so I can hear from you? Riggs, F-O-R, for azgov.com. I would like you to know this, that I have the deepest, most proven leadership experience of anyone up here on this stage, and I'm running for governor of Arizona after being out of politics and elective office for 16 years and joking all the while that I was a recovering politician, because we need a strong, proven, determined leader at the helm, because we have real challenges as a state. And I'm prepared to make the tough decisions, to show the courage necessary to move our state forward. My number one priority and responsibility, of course, is public safety. I'm going to focus on jobs and kids like a laser. I'm very aware that too many of our fellow Arizonans live at or below poverty. That's reflected by the statistics that we see with a number of our low-income schools, their test scores. It's reflected by the number of Arizonans that are now enrolled in Obamacare. 1 out of 5 of Arizonans enrolled in Obamacare is under the age of 18. And frankly, it's reflected by the high rate of child abuse and neglect in our state. Now, I'm prepared to address those challenges with your support and want you to know that I'll be an open, visible, and inclusive, not exclusive, inclusive governor, willing to listen and hear from my fellow Arizonans, even those that have opposing or competing views. And I will take the principles that drive me and that I'll protect and preserve as governor to the governor's office of fiscal responsibility, constitutionally limited government, free markets because free markets work, equal opportunity, and personal responsibility.
Time's up.
Thanks again.
Mr. Smith.
I'm going to take the liberty of standing also. Thank you so very much for having us here this evening. You know, you have 8 people up here. You have a big choice. And so the question is, who can rise above all the others? You've heard all the experiences. You've heard a wide variety of different ideas on how we can solve our problems. And so it's tough, but there is a difference. You look at the difference. In my experience, 30 years of business experience, most of that is a small business. First of all, as an advisor and telling small business how to become big, how to succeed. And I took what I had learned there and ran for mayor of Mesa. I ran for mayor of Mesa because I wanted to change. I wanted it to rise above what it thought it could be. I see the same thing in Arizona. And as mayor, I had real-world experience and a proven track record of accomplishments. We met the worst recession in the face, and we took a $62 million budget deficit and we reduced it. We handled immigration in a way that was fair, that was just, that connected and did not drive away members of our community. We brought 5 colleges and universities in to expand educational opportunities, and yes, we created jobs. We worked with the private sector, including the icing on the cake, which was enticing a $2 billion investment from Apple that brought 2,000 jobs to Arizona. So what's the difference? Well, the difference is that all these fine individuals up here will tell you what they want to do, what they may have done a few years ago. I can tell you that I have done it. I'm the only one up here that's been a CEO in business and been the equivalent in government. That has said when we talk about economic development, I've said across the table. When we talk about education, I've worked in it, I've done it, I've accomplished it. I have a vision for Arizona, and that vision is that your children and my children will not have to deal with this of immigration. We'll have free flow of trade, that they'll go to a school that will provide them an excellent education regardless of which zip code they're in, that they'll have opportunity to live here in Arizona, to raise a family here in Arizona, and I have a vision that they will thrive here in Arizona. That is the positive vision I bring. Thank you very much.
Mr. Thomas.
Thank you very much, and thank you to the hosts and the moderators for having this discussion tonight and for having it in an excellent forum. Much appreciated. The issue that has recurred and that has basically been a subtext to everything we've heard tonight is the issue that won't go away. And why won't it go away? I'll speak to that in a moment, and that is the issue of securing our border. And let us be frank, it is great to talk about education and healthcare and jobs and all of these other important topics, but if we do not secure our border, all of these other topics are meaningless because we cannot afford to suffer the continued influx that we are sustaining. We have to get somebody in there who is willing to make the tough decisions and antagonize many powerful people and special interests to secure that border. And I'm the one candidate running for governor who has done that against great odds and great adversity. When I was in office and enforcing the law, illegal immigrants fled this state. School districts' neighborhoods were cleaned out in large respects. Emergency rooms were available for U.S. citizens. Again, even the traffic got lighter. And now, that is not the case. That is the difference that leadership makes. We can go back to the good old days when illegal immigrants were leaving and we did not have to deal with that by having a tough leader in there. All it takes is having a governor who has the guts to take on the entire political, legal, and media establishment for years to get that done. And once we do that, things will get better. They will get better for this state, they will get better for this nation, but it takes somebody who's willing to do it, and the reason it is the issue that won't go away is because nobody else is willing to deal with it, because it's a tough fight. But I'm a tough fighter, and you put me in there, we're going to get the job done. Thank you, God bless you.
Mr. Bennett.
Thank you. Thank you for coming this evening. I believe Arizonans want someone to lead this state who can work together, bring people together, and get things done. Now, you've heard us all talk about business experience. I've had my 30 years like many others have. Some of us have experience at other levels of government, city councils or Congress or whatever it might be. One of the most important things that a governor has to do is work with the legislature. And I had the opportunity to serve in the state legislature for 8 years and 4 years as the CEO, or the president of the Senate. And during that time, the Republicans controlled the legislature and a Democrat was in the governor's office. And yet, we found ways to work together and get things done. We cut taxes by the largest amount in the history of the state at that time. But we also put more new funding into K-12 education than in any other four-year period of time. We left $1 billion in the rainy day fund, but we eliminated a bunch of accounting tricks and gimmicks, making businesses pay their sales taxes twice in June so that the state could count that revenue. We eliminated money that we used to sweep or steal, and now we are again taking from the cities and counties to help balance the state's budget. We got things done by sitting down and working together. Of all the legislators I served with, probably 300 or 400 during those 8 years, the Democrat leader in the Senate, Linda Geary, I put in probably in the top 5 of all legislators I served with. And we met weekly several times to get things done. And I think it was getting things done is what earned me the endorsement in the last few weeks of the Fraternal Order of Police, the Arizona Conference of Police and Sheriffs, and the correctional peace officers who work in our prisons. Experience matters, and I think Arizona needs a governor with some experience. And I'll close with a story about our youngest grandson who had some surgery a couple months ago. Only 2 years old, born with some health issues, and doctors recommended to our son and his wife they wanted to do a surgery that they normally don't like to perform on a 2-year-old. They got to meet the surgeon after thinking about it and praying about it and finally deciding to go ahead with the surgery. They met the surgeon, and their first question was, how many of these surgeries have you done before? Now is not the time to turn the governor's office over to somebody who's going to learn on the job. I have a vision for Arizona that we can work together and get things moving forward. Thank you for coming this evening.
Mr. Ducey.
My name is Doug Ducey, and I do want to be your next governor. I want to say thank you to the Arizona Hispanic Chamber of Commerce. I want to say thank you to Gonzalo for putting this out and for a wonderful turnout. I'm running to be governor of all the people. I believe if Arizona stands for any one single idea, it's opportunity for all. And that's what animates my campaign. This will be the first new governor sworn into office, first open seat for governor in the last 12 years. And in January, think of what's going to happen in this state. The governor will be sworn in. We're going to kick off with the Fiesta Bowl. Hopefully we'll have a couple of home games for the Cardinals, followed by the Pro Bowl 2 weeks later, followed by the Phoenix Open, followed by the Barrett-Jackson Auto Show, followed by the eyes of the world looking at our state as the Super Bowl kicks off here. If you want Arizona to up its game, to be the state it was meant to be, the warm, welcoming, inviting state, let's go in the right direction here. And I've had the opportunity to hire a lot of good people over the course of my career. And I've always evaluated them by what they did going backwards versus what they said going forward. So I've been married 24 years to my wife, Angela. We have 3 sons. I built Cold Stone Creamery. There's only one candidate up here that built a company that is known and loved around the country and now the world. I've been your state treasurer for the last 3 years, and by any measure of good management, total state assets are growing faster and in better condition today than they were 3 years ago. But most importantly, I want you to read my plan. It's on my website about what I want to do with our state and moving it forward. I want to be in Arizona that leads the country in economic development, job creation, business relocation, and outcomes in K-12 education. I'm asking you to be a part of this campaign. I'm asking for your support, and I'm asking for your vote. If you want to know more, please go to DougDucey.com, Doug Ducey on Facebook, or at Doug Ducey on Twitter.
Mr. Duvall.
Thank you. Ken makes a very good point. Arizona worked with a Democratic governor, and I look forward to returning to that kind of bipartisan cooperation as I look to be elected your next governor. And I want to look at where Arizona is at this moment. Things aren't working very well. Our unemployment rate is above the national average. It's been above the national average now for a number of years. Our education cuts have been devastating. We are not growing the way we need to. The jobs that we're growing actually pay less than the jobs we lost. We're one of a few states in the country that has not regained all the jobs prior to the recession. We're headed in the wrong direction. We spend more time at our state capitol arguing over how to secede from the Union than how to succeed in it. We need to have the right conversation about the things that will make a difference for the next generation. What are they? Education, reinvest in it. Innovation, create it. Location, leverage the opportunity with Mexico. Inclusion, recognize that talent comes white and black and brown and yellow and rainbow, and embrace talent in all of its human forms. And collaboration, bringing people together, which has been my life's work, reaching across the aisle to achieve strategic outcomes. I want to finish with a short story. When I was 9, I grew up in Tucson. My father was asked to start the medical school in Tucson because Arizona had a severe shortage of physicians. We drove into a gas station one day, and the gentleman filling up our tank said, "Aren't you the guy trying to build a medical school?" He said, "Yes." He went inside, and all the guys came out and brought a greasy Folgers can filled with their tips. And he said, "We're all in this together. Everybody's got to do their part. If we want to build the Arizona that we all aspire to around education and talent and innovation to create the jobs of the future, it's going to take all of us." Thanks very much. I look forward to working with you.
Now please welcome Gonzalo de la Molina from the Arizona Hispanic Chamber of Commerce.
Thank you all. On behalf of the Arizona Hispanic Chamber, I want to especially thank Univision and its general manager, Roberto Yanez, and ABC15 and its general manager, Anita Helt, for co-sponsoring tonight's event. This is one of 5 series that we'll be conducting through the summer and through early fall. I also want to extend a special thanks to Phoenix Union High School District Superintendent, Dr. Ken Paredes Scribner, and his entire staff for hosting us at Central High School. Finally, I want to offer a special thanks to each of our candidates for governor for making themselves available for tonight's event. The Arizona Hispanic Chamber is proud to join our partners in presenting tonight's forum because we believe it's important for our organizations such as ours to be fully engaged in the democratic process, not for partisan reasons, but in order to advance the broader interests of our community. Arizona is undergoing a rapid transformation, and much of that economic and demographic change is due to the growth of the Latino community. As the oldest organization dedicated to representing the state's Latino business community, we're committed to working together with whomever our next governor is to ensure that Arizona moves forward with the interest of all Arizonans in mind. I close by saying one of the people on stage here will be the state's next governor. Thank you, the audience, for your attendance and your engagement, because ultimately the fate not only of these candidates, but that our entire state is in your hands. Join us for our next forum coming up on July 22nd, where we'll host Congressional District 7 candidates, 6 to 8 p.m. at South Mountain High School. Thank you very much.